Today I'm going to put two of the most exciting exercise-focused earbuds of late up against each other, simply to see which one is best. So let the battle of the Beats Powerbeats Pro 2 and the Shokz OpenFit 2 begin. Hi, my name is Andy and you're watching Andy's Tech Tone. Thanks for tuning in. Comparing these two earbuds might not make a whole lot of sense to most at first, but I believe that you can find more similarities between the two than you might think. For starters, there is the fact that both are the top-of-the-line workout earbuds of their respective manufacturers, both come with a hook for your ears and for a secure fit, both have tactile physical buttons for media controls, both can last a whole day or more on a single charge, and both offer an array of features that can come in handy not only in the gym, but also during casual use. Well, even their packaging is similar, as both use mainly recycled materials. But of course, the most obvious difference between the two is the way they deliver sound to your ears. The Powerbeats uses a more traditional in-ear design, which means that the speakers sit inside your ears, blocking the ear canals and isolating you from the outside world, while the Shokz buds use a less intrusive solution, since their speakers are located outside the ear canals, leaving them completely open and free. Now, this fundamental difference in their design brings two distinctive characteristics with it. One is comfort related and the other is the sound quality itself, which I will talk about in detail later on, but now let's discuss their comfort and fit. First of all, both earbuds are robustly built and ooze premium quality. The main design element the two share in common is their ear hooks, which give me personally a very solid and secure fit on both buds. I took them to the gym, I was doing some weightlifting, some plyometrics, then I was doing yoga at home, and honestly, I could not tell the two apart, both were sitting securely on my ears. The same goes for running and cycling, where I did not experience any issues with either of the two. My helmet and my sunglasses were working just fine along with both, thanks to their slim and non-interfering ear hooks. So their fit is about the same, it's all snug no matter what exercise you do. Where the Shokz gains a huge advantage in my opinion is long-term comfort. It's not just that the open-ear design is inherently more comfortable because there is nothing that you have to squeeze into your ear canals, but there is also the silicone coating on the ear hooks, which feels a touch more soft on the OpenFit too. The Beats buds weigh in a whole gram easier than the Shokz, but it doesn't seem to be enough to turn things around here. One other tiny issue I have with the Beats is that I feel like I'm between two sizes as for those ear tips, so the medium feels the tiniest bit loose, but the large is, well, a smidge too large. And that impacts the ANC performance as well, but more about that in a second. The good news is that you get 5 sets in the box, so your mileage might vary. And of course, your experience with the OpenFit 2 can vary too, but again, I feel like it's an easy win for Shokz when it comes to comfort. And Shokz picks up another point for making their earbuds IP55 rated dust and rainproof, while according to the official IPX4 rating of the Powerbeats Pro 2, these buds are only splash resistant. Whether it matters to you or not will depend on your use case, but personally I feel more safe with the IP55 badge on the OpenFit 2, which can have a positive effect on longevity as well. On to the not waterproof battery cases, the Shokz is smaller and thinner, while the Beats is a bit chunkier. But while Shokz wins as far as portability and pocketability, Beats gives us not only a USB Type-C port, but also the option to charge their case wirelessly, which can earn a few points in my book. Both carry cases are made from plastic and they feel very similar to the touch. And both cases come with a strong and springy hinge as well, which gives you easy access to the earbuds. But while that's true, taking the Shokz buds out can be frustrating at first thanks to the overlapping ear hooks, and putting the buds back inside the Beats case correctly requires some of your attention as well, because they might not pop back in place straight away. However, all it takes is a day or two to get used to either of them, so no big deal. As far as total battery life, the OpenFit 2 offers 48 hours, while the Powerbeats Pro 2 can last up to 45 hours, and in terms of single charge playtime, Shokz have a slight edge with 11 hours versus 10. But keep in mind that with the Powerbeats Pro 2, you can only get to these numbers with the noise cancelling turned off. As soon as you turn it on, the playtime of the earbuds drops to 8 hours and 36 hours in total. In terms of fast charging, a 5-minute top-up will give you an extra 1.5 hours of use with the Beats, while 10 minutes will yield an additional 2 hours of playtime with the Shokz. All things considered, I would call this one a tie, because ANC or not, Shokz can deliver longer use times, but it does not have wireless charging. And now let's compare the built-in microphones on the two earbuds. Personally, I couldn't care less about the phone call quality of my sports earbuds, but I know many of you do, so here is a few audio samples, starting with the Beats Powerbeats Pro 2. So this is the audio quality you can expect from these earbuds in a quiet environment. And now let's switch over to the built-in mics on the Shokz OpenFit 2, so you can actually hear the difference between the two yourself. So this is the audio quality you can get from the Shokz earbuds in a quiet environment. And now let's see how the earbuds can handle some of the elements outside, such as wind and traffic noise. So this is the audio quality you can expect from the Beats Powerbeats Pro 2 if you happen to make a phone call while you are out and about. And on to our last audio sample today. This is the phone call quality you can get with the Shokz OpenFit 2. The conditions are the same as before, with some strong breeze and light traffic in the background. As far as controls, both earbuds have physical buttons, but that's where the similarities end. With the Shokz you get a single button on the top of each bud for media controls, including play, pause, track and volume. You can also activate your voice assistant using the touch panel on the side of each speaker unit. The double, triple and long press sections of the buttons can be customized in the app, and there is an option to deactivate the touch panels as well. When using the buttons, we get a tactile feedback with a nice and clicky sound, the volume of which can be adjusted in the app. Reaction times are prompt, and the buttons work well, be it with a headband on, with gloves on, in cold or in wet conditions. I also love the fact that the buttons are located on the top of the speakers and not at the back or on the side, because I find it the most comfortable, as I don't have to push the buds into my ears every time I use the controls. On the Beats, however, the multifunctional buttons are on the sides toward the back of the earbuds, and as such I find them a bit uncomfortable to use. The volume rockers on the top are much better, and I only wish those buttons could function as media controls as well, because I don't like pushing the buds into my ears all the time when skipping a song or switching ambient modes. And those buttons at the back do not give you much of a feedback, if anything at all, when wearing gloves or a headband over your earbuds. But in terms of functionality, between all these buttons we get the same as on the Shokz. There is play, pause, track, volume and voice assistant controls. And yes, you can use not only Siri but also the Google Assistant as long as you set it up in the Beats app on Android. But customization is much more limited here, as we can only choose between ambient modes and voice assistant controls for the long press, while nothing else can really be changed. However, the Powerbeats Pro come with smart sensors for automatic play and pause, while the Shokz buds do not. What neither of the two can do is being turned on and off without their carry case, using their buttons only. All that said, during everyday use I find the Shokz controls more comfortable, more practical and more versatile. And the almost unlimited remapping options offered by the app can be an advantage too, so this one goes to the OpenFit 2. And since I mentioned the smart sensors on the Beats, there is another set of sensors that has to be mentioned. One of the biggest improvements over the original Powerbeats Pro, which came out almost 6 years ago, is the new heart rate monitoring feature on the second gen buds. Of course, there is the active noise cancelling as well, but while ANC is a common feature in 2025, having heart rate sensors on board earbuds is still considered to be unique. And without going into all the details, I have to say that for casual users, the heart rate monitor will do a decent job. I only tested the accuracy against my Garmin Forerunner 745 watch on a smart trainer, and for the most part, the Powerbeats Pro 2 was within a margin of 3 to 4 beats per minute to the reference value I know I can trust coming from my Garmin. At the end of the workout, the average heart rate was 137 versus 138, so practically the same. Based on other reviews, however, the accuracy can greatly vary between different types of exercise, so while it's okay on a stationary bike or during a slow-paced yoga session, it's more like a hit and miss when running or doing something more intense in the gym. Avid Apple users will still be better off using their watch, but let's say you don't want to wear a watch during a kettlebell workout or when lifting weights, then the Beats Buds can still give you some heart rate data for your workouts. And speaking of heart rate data, I was able to broadcast it to fitness apps such as Strava and Training Peaks Virtual on my Android phone, but on my iPad, even though the earbuds were connected and playing music, the optical sensor of the Beats did not even show up as an option when I was trying to set it up in any app. I also could not connect the Beats to my Garmin by computer. I mean, it connected, but it never displayed or shared any of the heart rate data whatsoever. So while the Beats will never be my personal go-to choice for tracking heart rate due to its severe limitations, and if you are serious about your training, it shouldn't be yours either, for casual users it might be good enough for tracking an overall training load. And as for the Shokz, it does not have an optical heart rate sensor at all. What's also missing from the OpenFit 2 is the H2 wireless chip from Apple. It's the same chip as the one inside the AirPods Pro 2, and as such the Powerbeats Pro 2 can do most things the AirPods Pro can. There is instant pairing with other Apple devices, automatic switching between your Mac, iPhone or iPad, audio sharing with other compatible Beats or Apple earbuds and headphones, and personalized spatial audio with head tracking. Find My works as well, but it's not precision finding, only a more basic one. Still, you can have a map and also ping the buds, so that should cover most emergencies. On Android, none of this will work except for the Locate My Beats feature, which shows the location of your buds on a map, but you cannot ping them. So on Android you will lose out on a lot of features such as multi-device connection or spatial audio with head tracking, and even though pairing is still easy, it's not the same as instant pairing with an iPhone. Thanks to its Apple hardware, all the settings are integrated into iOS, iPadOS and macOS, so no separate app is to be found on those platforms. However, there is a dedicated Android app, but only with a limited set of functions, including custom controls, the heart rate monitor on-off switch, an in-ear detection switch, an ear tip fit test, and of course firmware upgrades. The Shokz, on the other hand, works exactly the same way regardless of what phone you use. We get the same app for both iOS and Android with the exact same set of features. Multipoint works well across all platforms, which as an Android and Mac user, I personally find a huge advantage during everyday use. Plus, there is a list of connected devices in the app, where you can easily switch between all your available sources manually, which again can improve productivity in a mixed platform environment. Find My Earbuds is on the menu as well, however it's not a location-based solution as it can only ping the buds but cannot show them on a map. As for some of the wireless basics, the two earbuds are more or less the same, as both can do single mode, both offer you the AAC audio codec but nothing else, and there is no low latency mode on either of them for more serious gamers. But overall, during my tests, I did not experience any connection-related issues with either of the two buds, as the wireless signals proved to be rock solid and lip sync was okay too. So as far as features, Apple users might enjoy a lot of extras with the Powerbeats Pro 2, and there are the heart rate sensors as well, so I have to give this one to Beats, but the Shokz is more consistent across different ecosystems, and as for my personal use case, it's a much better fit. And now onto the active noise cancelling. I know what you're thinking, the Shokz OpenFit 2 does not even have ANC, so that should be an easy win for the Beats. And you're correct, it is, but honestly I was expecting more from Beats. The AirPods Pro 2, for example, with the same chip on board can do a way better job overall. So let's say the Apple Buds are a 9.5 out of 10, then the Beats is a 7 or maybe an 8 on a good day. They are closer to each other as far as low-pitch hums and rumbles are concerned, but at higher frequencies there is a night and day difference between the two. And while a score of 7 or 8 out of 10 sounds great, there are many 7s or 8s out there for much less money. Nonetheless, the ANC feature works okay, and I found it to be particularly useful in the gym, where there is music and loads of other people, so noise cancelling is kind of a must. So if you do weightlifting, use a stationary bike or run on the treadmill in the gym, the Beats offers you the ANC advantage. The one caveat here is that during intense plyometrics or running, the issue I had with the ear tips started to show. The smaller ones I find the most comfortable will not provide me with a 100% tight seal, only the bigger ones can do that. But in this case I feel that extra pressure inside my ear canals after a while. And I will always choose comfort over perfect isolation, which in my case impacts the ANC performance of the Beats during intense workouts. That said, the OpenFit 2 does not have ANC at all. But the minute you hop on your bike or if you run outside with traffic on the road, the Shokz can be a winner from a safety point of view. However, the transparency mode on the Beats is excellent and it's pretty much on par with that of the AirPods Pro 2, which makes them class-leading in that regard. The ambient mode sounds natural and effortless, and even though we get a little bit of a higher pitch and more audible hiss than on the AirPods, it's still good enough to give you almost as good of a situational awareness on the road as the open design of the Shokz buds, and it's something I did not expect, to be honest. Wind noise is more or less the same on both earbuds as well, but of course it depends on the conditions and on many other factors such as your speed, wind direction, etc. If your ears are prone to a cold breeze, such as mine, the inner design of the Powerbeats Pro 2 might be a better option, as they can protect the ear canals from the wind. That's unless it's so cold that you have to wear a headband on the bike, because this is when the Shokz is infinitely more comfortable to use on a ride that lasts an hour or two. As for the ANC off mode on the Beats, it makes the sound of the buds a touch more lean, so depending on your favorite content you might prefer this setting. And at the end of the day, the Powerbeats Pro wins the category, of course, because no matter how underwhelming its ANC is, there is still the option to block out some of the world around you, which can come in handy in loads of scenarios, and there is that top-of-the-class transparency mode as well. Now onto the sound quality differences between the two earbuds. Well, there is some as expected. Due to its open-ear nature, the Shokz comes with a handicap right out of the gate. Even though it's probably the most impressive open-style bass you can get today in terms of both bottom-end extension and mid-bass kick, the Beats buds can just effortlessly deliver the deepest bass notes with more dynamics and more sub-bass presence. The dual driver setup inside the OpenFit 2 delivers a clean enough bass at all output levels, but it still sounds a tiny bit more grainy and muddy when compared to the snappy, clean and punchy bass of the Beats. Throughout the mid-range, instruments and vocals sound a touch darker with some extra sweetness on the Shokz, while the Beats comes through with more clarity and delivers a more forward and open presentation. The highs are ever so slightly rolled off on the OpenFit 2, which make them less detailed and sparkling up top, while the treble section offers more energy, micro detail and extension on the Powerbeats Pro 2. It all makes the Beats sound more exciting, while the Shokz is kind of more relaxed. Speech intelligibility is better on the Powerbeats Pro 2, thanks to the more forward mids and the more controlled upper bass, and the ANC feature can also help filtering out the noises, which makes listening to podcasts or videos easier while you are on the move. So even though the OpenFit 2 can deliver an excellent sound quality with top-of-the-class bass and dynamics when compared to other open earbuds, the Beats simply offers a more dynamic, more punchy and more energetic sound signature. Shokz got surprisingly close overall thanks to using a special two-way driver setup, and even in terms of volume, the OpenFit 2 can get to extreme levels, which is almost comparable to that of the Beats. Of course, Beats wins here, but I was happy to listen to either buds somewhere in the 60 to 80% volume range, where there is not much of a difference between the two. The higher we go in volume, let's say 90% and above, two things will happen. The bass gets a bit tapered off on the Shokz, and we get some sound leakage as well, but that comes with the territory of the open-ear design. As for EQing, the Shokz app gives you multiple sound profile presets and manual settings, while the Beats have adaptive EQ with no room for manual tweaking. And even though I don't use it that much at all, spatial audio with head tracking is something that some of you might find exciting, so there is that too. At the end of the day, the sound quality round goes to Beats. And to wrap this all up, here is a conclusion of sorts. The Powerbeats Pro 2 won easily and clearly in two categories, sound and features. The Shokz also won two by a good margin, comfort and controls. And there was a tie in another three, as their fit, their overall design and their battery life were also close to one another that I could not find a meaningful difference. If I was nitpicking, then I could say that the battery life is better on the Shokz and also it has a better IP rating, but then I could give separate points to Beats for having ANC and heart rate sensors, and its phone call quality is probably better too, so depending on your needs, this could go either way. But if I look at the overall picture, I would like to call it a draw. That said, I personally feel like the Shokz OpenFit 2 is a better fit for my use case, especially as we are going into the spring and summer months where I will spend more time running and cycling outside. but at the same time, I can easily see myself using the Powerbeats Pro 2 just as happily in certain scenarios, but mostly indoors, in a gym or on the turbo trainer. And it takes us back to the fundamental differences in their design: open-ear versus in-ear, comfort and awareness versus isolation. But there is one more factor to consider, and that's their price. The Beats costs $250 or pounds and 300 euros, while the Shokz is significantly cheaper as it comes in at 180 bucks. But as of making this video, it's not available in Europe, or at least I could not find it in any official online stores, including Shoksz's own webpage or any of their European Amazon sites. So for actual prices and availability, please check out the affiliate links in the description. But looking at the prices of $250 versus $180 in the US, some might argue that the extra $70 you spend on the Beats is a no-brainer, as it will give you all those extras such as the heart rate sensors or ANC and the H2 chip, which can be a deal breaker only if you are an Apple user. But if you don't need any of that, you can save money by getting the Shokz. And if you still feel like you need the heart rate data, the $70 you just saved can get you a proper chest heart rate monitor, which will give you much more reliable data across all of your workouts. So it's the actual value you think you get with each that might tip the scales in favor of one or the other. In my case, it probably tips over to the Shokz side, but only by the slightest of margins. And that's it for today. I'm planning on doing some more comparisons like this in the near future, so please subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any upcoming content from me. Also, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and we can continue the discussion in the comment section below, should you have anything to add or ask. Thanks for watching everyone, hope to see you all in the next one.